Chapter 18. The door was ajar. The door was actually a jar, full of jelly. The door was ajar. They entered. John! From the bathroom came an unpleasant and characteristic sound. "Is there anything the matter?" Helmholtz called. There was no answer. The unpleasant sound was repeated. Twice. There was silence. Then with a click of the bathroom door opened. Then with a click, the bathroom door opened. And very pale, the savage emerged. "I say," said Helmholtz solicitously. "You do look ill, John." "Did you eat something that didn't agree with you?" asked Bernard. "Did you eat something that didn't agree with you?" The savage nodded. "I ate civilization." "What?" "It poisoned me. I was defiled. And then," he added in a lower tone, "I ate my own wickedness." "Yes, but what exactly? I mean, just now you were..." "Now I am purified," said the savage. "I drank some mustard and warm water." The others stared at him in astonishment. "Do you mean to say that you were doing it on purpose?" asked Bernard. "That's how the Indians always purify themselves." He sat down and, sighing, passed his hand across his forehead. "I shall rest for a few minutes," he said. "I'm rather tired." "Well, I'm not surprised," said Helmholtz. After a silence, "We've come to say goodbye," he went on in another tone. "We're off tomorrow morning." "Yes, we're off tomorrow," said Bernard, on whose face the savage remarked a new expression of determined resignation. "And by the way, John," he continued, leaning forward in his chair and laying a hand on the savage's knee, "I want to say how sorry I am about everything that happened yesterday." He blushed. "How ashamed," he went on, in spite of the unsteadiness of his voice. "How really..." The savage cut him short. Taking his hand, affectionately pressed it. "Helmholtz was wonderful to me," Bernard resumed after a little pause. "If it hadn't been for him, I should..." Now, Helmholtz protested. There was a silence. In spite of their sadness, because of it even, for their sadness was the symptom of their love for one another. In spite of their sadness, the three young men were happy. I went to see the controller this morning, said the savage at last. What for? To ask if I might go to the islands with you. And what did he say? Asked Helmholtz eagerly. The savage shook his head. He wouldn't let me. Why not? He said he wanted to go on with the experiment. But I'm damned, the savage added with sudden fury. I'm damned if I'll go on being experimented with. Not for all the controllers in the world. I shall go away tomorrow too. But where? The others asked in unison. The savage shrugged his shoulders. Anywhere. I don't care. So long as I can be alone. From Guildford, the down line followed the Wey Valley to Goldingham, then over Milford and Whitley proceeded to Halsamere, and on through Petersfield towards Portsmouth. Roughly parallel to it, the up line passed over Worplesdon, Tongham, Puttenham, Elstead, and Grayshot. Between the Hog's Back and Hindhead, there were points where two lines were not more than 6 or 7 kilometers apart. The distance was too small for careless flyers, particularly at night and when they had taken a half gram too much. Oh my god, is this making sense to anybody? Me either. The lines, yes, and all of the hams. Between the Hog's Back and the Hindhead, there were points where the two lines were not more than 6 or 7 kilometers apart. The distance was too small for careless flyers, particularly at night when they had taken half a gram too much. There had been accidents, serious ones. It had been decided to deflect the upline a few kilometers to the west. Between Grayshot and Tongham, 4 abandoned air lighthouses marked the course of the old Portsmouth to London road. The skies above them were silent and deserted. It was over Selborne, Borden, and Farnham that the helicopters now ceaselessly hummed and roared. The savage had chosen as his hermitage the old lighthouse, which stood on the crest of the hill between Puttenham, and Elstead. A helicopter lighthouse. How mystical. The building was of ferro-concrete and in excellent condition. Almost too comfortable, the savage had thought, when he first explored the place. Almost too civilizedly luxurious. The building was ferro-concrete and in excellent condition. Almost too comfortable, the savage had thought when he first explored the place. Almost too civilizedly luxurious. He pacified his conscience by promising himself a compensatingly harder self-discipline, purifications, the more complete and thorough. His first night in the Hermitage was deliberately a sleepless one. He spent hours on his knees praying. Now to that heaven from which the guilty Claudius had begged forgiveness. Now in Zuni to Awanawilona. Now to Jesus and Pukong. Now to his own guardian animal, the eagle. From time to time he stretched out his arms as though he were on the cross, and held them thus through long minutes of an ache that gradually increased till it became a tremulous and excruciating agony. Held them in voluntary crucifixion while he repeated through clenched teeth, the sweat meanwhile pouring down his face, "Oh, forgive me. Oh, make me pure. Oh, help me be good." Again and again, till he was on the point of fainting from the pain. When morning came, he felt he had earned the right to inhabit the lighthouse. Yet, even though there still was glass in most of the windows, that's G's sussy. Thank you for that. I needed a laugh. Inhabit D's nuts. I feel I've earned the right. Yet, even though there still was glass in most of the windows, even though the view from the platform was so fine, for the very reason that he had chosen the lighthouse, it had become instantly a reason for going somewhere else. He had decided to live there because the view was so beautiful. Because from his vantage point, he seemed to be looking out on the incarnation of a divine being. But who was he to be pampered with the daily and hourly sight of loveliness? Who was he to be living with the visible presence of God? All he deserved was to live in some filthy sty, some blind hole in the ground, stiff and still aching after his long night of pain, but for that very reason, inwardly assured. He climbed up to the platform of his tower. He looked out over the bright sunrise world in which he had regained the right to inhabit. On the north, the view was bounded by the long chalk ridge of the Hog's Back, from behind whose eastern extremity rose the towers of the 7 skyscrapers which had constituted Guildford. Seeing them, the savage made a grimace. He was to become reconciled to them in course of time, for at night they twinkled gaily with geometrical constellations, or else floodlighted, pointed their luminous fingers with a gesture whose significance nobody in England but the savage now understood, solemnly towards the plumbless mysteries of heaven. In the valley which separated the Hog's Back from the sandy hill on which the lighthouse stood, Puttenham was a modest little village, 9 stories high, with silos, a poultry farm, and a small vitamin D factory. On the other side of the lighthouse, towards the south, the ground fell away in long slopes of heather to a chain of ponds. Beyond them, above the intervening woods, rose the 14-story Tower of Elstead. Dim in the hazy English air, Hindhead and Selborne invited the eye into a blue romantic distance. But it was not alone the distance that had attracted the savage to his lighthouse. The near was as seductive as the far. The woods, the open stretches of heather and yellow gorse, the clumps of Scotch firs, the shining ponds with their overhanging birch branches, the water lilies, their beds of rushes. These were beautiful, and to an eye accustomed to the aridities of the American desert, astonishing. And then the solitude. Whole days passed where he never saw another human being. The lighthouse was only a quarter of an hour's flight from the Carring-T Tower, but the hills of Malpai were hardly more deserted than this Surrey Heath. The crowds that daily left London left it only to play electromagnetic golf or tennis. Puttenham possessed no links. The nearest Ryman surfaces were at Guildford. Flowers and landscapes were the only attractions here. And so, as there was no good reason for coming, nobody came. During the first days, the savage lived alone and undisturbed. All right, there's actually way more to read than I thought. I thought that the 2 chapters were a little shorter. I think I might stop here in the middle of chapter 18. Alone in the Lighthouse. The Lighthouse. I always thought it was a, what are they called? Oh, I always thought he lived in a windmill. I guess it's a lighthouse. Anyways. How long have I been reading? Like an hour and a half? The 2-hour series finale. I don't think I could even finish it in a half hour. There's like, we've seen too much, you know? Oh God. There's 10 pages left. Like front to back, you know, like front to back, it's 5 pages, but it's actually 10, you know? Come on now. Oh God. Suddenly my viewership went up. Come on, guys. I'm not done reading yet. I'm gonna read the whole book tonight. It just feels terrible. I feel like I'm not doing it justice. Like, ugh. Take a union break and finish, but then it'll take even longer. This is wonderful. Thank you guys. Thank you. I shall continue.